can hear this. This is Chase Lamb. We need help right away. There's something in the woods. It's coming to the door. Oh God, the footsteps are outside the door. Oh my God, it's almost here. End of transmission. Hello, this is Chase Lamb, along with the 4 other idiots I have with me. Brandon, Mitch, Gordon, and Mike. We met in college while we were studying to be game designers, but we figured out that wasn't for any of us. Instead, we decided to explore the unknown and unexplained. We are what you call, paranormal explorers. We travel to places that can't be explained and try to bring it into the light for an answer. So today we're heading to a town called Sarsha. We got a lead on this from one of those Facebook posts from people going on about, how the scary stuff doesn't exist. The thing that got our attention, though, was when we tried to find it on Google or any mapping system. We weren't able to locate it. Luckily, our local library has some information on it, as well as a couple of old newspaper articles on the town. According to old books and newspapers that we've read so far, the town has no sign of life. None for nearly 80 years. Nobody can explain why, but it's rumored that anybody that attempts to stay there for 20 days simply disappears. And on top of it all, they're never found again. These apparent warnings given to us raised our curiosity. After doing a lot of research and database searches, we were able to find out where Sarsha's location is. Day 1. Since, apparently, nobody has stayed here for 20 days, and we need proof, I brought my journal so I could keep notes. Mitch also brought along his video camera, so you'll be able to watch clips of us at the same time. We're now 20 minutes away from Sarsha, and I'm looking forward. Get out of here. Leave now. A ghostly figure of myself appeared and showed me dead.
Wake up, Chase. Wake up.
Gordon shook me violently. Wait, what happened? I said, dazed and confused.
You started to drift off, and it looked like you were falling asleep or passing out.
Yeah, I'm fine, Gordon. He said, don't worry about it. I didn't want to tell him what I'd just seen because, he might think I've been trying to chicken out. I highly doubt they'd believe me anyway. I just decided to shake the whole thing off as a small dream or some hallucination, as it had been, a while since I'd gotten any sleep. So Mitch stopped the car, looked at us with a playful look.
Welcome to Sarsha.
Brandon took out the camera and started to film the surroundings around us. They were right about it looking abandoned. It looked like nobody had lived here in years. The grass was almost 7 feet tall. There were cornfields with dead brown pieces of corn all around them. We recorded the area and found nothing except for an old wooden house that was destroyed. Since it's likely no one lives there, we decided that, this is where we would set up camp. Day 2. We spent most of the night trimming the hedges, but couldn't do much. Seems like we were trying to trim down metal and steel all in one. Today, the plans for us consist of fixing up the house and making it livable again. We all looked around it and found nothing ghostly or any signs that people had even lived here. All we were able to see were tons of dust or a bunch of spiderwebs, like the place was trying to tell us that, we shouldn't be here. Enough of that. I'm going to help the rest of the group get the repairs done. I'll be writing back in my journal in a couple of hours. It took us 4 hours, but we were able to settle in the house. We all celebrated with a cold beer as we were able to get the electricity into the house, which almost seemed impossible to do. The next thing's dinner. Mitch brought out the camcorder and said in a playful voice,
All right, people. For our wait until this ancient evil crap gets us, what do you want?
He pulled out a selection of burgers in his left hand, and he brought out a T-bone steak on the right. We all pointed to the left, and we had the burgers. After dinner, we're all exhausted. So this is where I'm going to put the journal down and get some shut-eye. I'll be sure to write tomorrow. You all have a good night. Day 4. I feel like a complete fool. Forgot to write in my journal about the third day. I apologize for that. There's nothing I can do about it now. We're all bored from sitting around and just exploring the house, so we decided to have some fun. Took the camcorder to go out and explore the woods. As expected, we found nothing of talent and fortune. All we saw were trees and, insects. However, one thing that stuck out and provided mystery was, how was there a fresh dead deer out here? There'd been no sign of life for 80 years. So how could something be out here? Well, we were all trying to think of possible explanations. Animals get into it. Dying of starvation, natural causes. Eventually we all calmed down and decided to claim that the wildlife had taken it. The rest of the day mostly consisted of us playing cards at the table, just relaxing until at 8:30 p.m. we heard a banging at the door. Grabbed our gear and went outside, and we were shocked when we saw the deer that was not even dead 4 hours ago was gone. It's gone. All of it. The body, the tracks, even the blood. It was almost as if something was coming to clean up a mistake it had made doing its work. Well, that night, none of us got any sleep. Day 5. I don't claim to believe in the paranormal activity or, things like that, but all of last night I heard these unexplainable noises. It sounded like small children. Every time we went outside, the noise would stop. It was almost as if something knew we were coming, to see what it was, and in our state of confusion, we heard a loud, howling screech. When we went outside to investigate the noise, nothing was there. This place keeps on getting creepier and creepier. Day 7. Sorry I haven't written in a couple of days. I hit my head and I was in and out of it yesterday. We don't know what caused me to fall. I was thinking there's maybe some weird mold or something in the air. Instead, we found something inexplainable. It was a journal with a key slot. The shape of it looked like it was a diary, but of course, there was no key to be found. Well, instead of bashing it open and seeing what was inside, we picked the lock, trying not to damage the contents. In the meantime, Gordon decided what we were doing was boring. He thought it would be fun if we went fishing instead. We all got our rod and reels. We went fishing for 2 hours. To the surprise of everybody, turns out there were fish that were living in the yellow ponds. At the end of our trip, we decided to head back and eat the fish, since they looked edible. We were all excited to head back to the house. But that feeling was slowly turning to panic and fear. The house looked a total wreck. It looked like a tornado had come in and thrown all our stuff around. Our cameras were distorted, along with all our belongings scattered on the floor. We were frustrated and confused. But I noticed something that nobody else had. The place where the journal lay is torn into pieces. Something was looking for this journal. Well, I'd hidden it in one of the closets and locked it behind me, not telling anyone. But the journal is gone. Someone was here. I don't think it was any of us. Well, we gathered in the room, staring at one another in silence.
Okay, who pulled off this prank?
Gordon said with fury in his voice. None of us replied. All we could do was look and hope someone would confess and say it was a prank. That didn't happen. Well, we just decided that it would be best to clean up and forget about this mess. But that wouldn't be easy. After we'd finished cleaning the house and putting everything back where it was, we all went to sleep. Within the hour, the other 4 were all snoring. I couldn't sleep, not after what had happened today. I tossed and turned, hearing the sound of paper crumpling. I heard it again and again. It sounded like it was coming from under my bed. So I lifted my bed to see a perfectly intact piece of paper. Day 8. I decided not to tell the others about the paper. I think they suspect me for the big mess that was made. We all went downstairs for breakfast and decided we were going to explore the cornfield later. It was different than the first time I'd seen it. Just as we were putting our plates away, there was a giant thump at the door. It sounded like something had charged at it. We all jumped out of our chairs in shock. Brandon went into a frenzy, reaching in his bag and taking out a gun. And then he ran off. "Brandon, stop. What are you doing?" We ran after him to stop him. We followed his footsteps, which led to the cornfield. We had to find him before he did something stupid, or ended up hurting himself. We followed the steps for what felt like an hour. In our hunt, we came across something strange. We found this weird footstep in the dirt. It looked like something was walking with 5 feet, except every footprint was different, almost like every print was a different animal. As we inspected it, we heard a blood-curdling scream to the left of us. It was Brandon. We ran to him, pushing off every piece of corn that came in our way. We got to him and saw him in this fetal position, shaking as blood ran down his body. Some animal had bitten him on the right shoulder. We grabbed him and brought him back into the house. Thankfully, this time, it wasn't torn to shreds, but Brandon's shoulder was bleeding, and he was starting to have convulsions. Grabbing a cloth from the bathroom, we made a tourniquet to stop the bleeding, and luckily, it worked. Oh, I hadn't noticed, but in all of the commotion, that paper was somehow on the ground. A drop of blood dripped from Brandon's shoulder, hitting the page, only for words to show up. Day 10. I didn't write this yesterday, since we spent the entire day trying to decode the paper. It would only show words with Brandon's blood. We tried ours, but, well, nothing worked. We gathered his blood, and, deciphering 4 lines of the page, after our efforts, we figured out the 4 lines and what it said.
"This is Baden Marcus. We were very stupid to come here. The tracks at night are from the animal. We have never seen anything like this. If you see..."
And it ends there. Everyone was convinced this animal the paper mentioned was the one that left the weird foot track in the dirt. I sat at the door for what seemed like hours and came up with a plan. I would sit at the side of the door, and when it would appear, I'd take a picture of it. I stood there for an hour, ready to give up before I heard noises coming from the side of the house. Taking the camera, I saw its face before it ran off into the cornfield. Like a wolf with a scar running from its forehead to its eye. I was looking at the footage to see it up close and to show the guys. When I saw the film, I saw nothing of the animal. I slowed the camera, looking at it frame by frame. All it showed was me running to the back of the house and looking at nothing. Frustrated, I went to bed. Day 11. Ever since Brandon got bit by the animal, he's been acting strange. Not in a medical way, but he started speaking French randomly, and his emotions turned into anger and depression. Now, I'm not a doctor, but this isn't the Brandon I know. Plus, he doesn't even know French. After we helped Brandon get out of bed, we gave him an aspirin and put some peroxide on the bite. Everything was working out. We put a band-aid on to keep anything from getting into the bite. After that, we were all bored and decided to go fishing. We put up a camcorder so if anything could get into the house, we would catch it on film. After a walk to the dock, we got our equipment out and went to get started. I put the rod out and, within the first 5 minutes, I caught a fish on the line. Excited, we pulled it to the surface. The feeling turned into dust as the reality of our catch came into view. It was a human skull. Well, I thought after seeing this, our next thought would be getting the hell out of this crazy place. I mean, that's what sane people would do. But our stubbornness got to us. We voted together that we were going to stay. After this little voting stage, Mike got thirsty, so he went back to the house to get some water. 30 minutes passed and he hadn't yet come back. Well, we all started to worry that something had happened to him, so we went back to the house to check on him. When we got there was nothing there besides his shirt and the 5 claw-like footprints. Day 13. Yesterday, the thoughts of my journal didn't even come to my head. The day consisted of trying to find our lost friend. We looked in the plains, in the house, and the cornfields. There was no sign of him. And to make things worse, the footprints were gone. After the search, we couldn't find him or even see any signs he was there. We got our phones out to get a signal to call 911, but no one could get one. The only way to finding Mike was the paper. In a panicked effort, we applied pressure on Brandon's now healed wound to get blood out and show the final words of the page. Nothing came out though. In a rage of fury, Mitch threw a book at the wall, breaking a board and revealing a dog skull. Well, we were in shock. Went to examine it. It was indeed a dog skull, and by the looks of it, it'd been there for a very long time. What in the hell is a dog skull doing here? There's got to be more to this place than just a scary legend. In a curious effort, we took our shovels and dug around the back and front yard to find anything to help us. And what we found was nothing what we would have ever expected. My God, there were bodies. Lots of bodies, not just human bodies. The more we dug, the more bodies we saw. There were so many animals, dogs, cats, and humans. Whatever was here was making it look like a signal to get out, because something did not want us here. Day 14. This is going to be a terse entry. We're getting ready to leave and to go to the police and talk about all of this. We have to report what we found in the yard, and the story about Mike and reporting him missing. Again, we heard something last night when we were investigating, and we saw one of the footprints. Yeah, this is it. We're packing and we're leaving first thing tomorrow. Day 15. We're almost done packing, keeping guard at the door with Mitch's gun. If the creature comes to get us, we'll be ready this time. Brandon needs to go to the hospital. His eyes have been getting more bloodshot every hour, and he randomly jerks his body. The rest of the things were packed, and I started carrying Brandon out to the car. God, it's time to get out of this place. God, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse. Well, I was wrong. Our car was destroyed. It looked as if someone had whacked it with a baseball bat for 200 times. The windows are bashed in. The engine looked like someone had dropped it, a giant boulder on it. We had nowhere to go, and no one to contact. And the nearest town is 105 miles away. We were screwed. We're going to die here. The only thing that we could do is hope and pray. Our only hope was the paper. We went to get it, hoping that it may contain some clue, some way to get out of here. Anything to get out of this hellhole. Well, we got the paper ready to squirt Brandon's blood all over the pages, not caring how we escaped this place. And when we grabbed the paper, I was shocked to see it was readable. All of the other times we'd seen it, it was blank. It turned out it was a journal, similar to the one that I was writing. except a man named Bernard Jenkins had written it. It explains all the events that had happened to us in the journal, and was a warning. He warns us of a creature that shouldn't even have been born here in this world. It's made this its home, and it will kill anyone that invades its property. Inside is also a video recording from him being questioned by the police. Day 16. Here's the police tape recording we found, taped to the journal. We pulled out our video camera and recorded what came next.
Bernard, are you okay?
The officer said in a very calm voice.
Am I safe?
Bernard asks in a very edgy voice.
Yes, it can't hurt you, but we need to ask you a couple of questions about what happened in Sarsha.
He paused.
7 of you went in. 1 comes out 20 days later. Doesn't look good for you.
The officer says. Bernard replies in an earth-shattering voice.
It wasn't me. It was that thing. I saw it. It bit all of my friends and killed my Allison. My sweet Allison.
He puts his hands on his head while shaking violently.
She became one of those things. The creature's bloodshot eyes. They came for me, but I got away. But every time I close my eyes, I see it. You don't know what it's like. I can't live, I can't sleep. Every second is just me wondering if I can live an extra minute before it comes to get me.
The officer seems to be not paying any attention.
The thing that bit us. It had brown fur, 5 legs, and we couldn't kill it. We tried shooting it, but it wouldn't die.
Bernard starts to shake violently.
It wouldn't die! It would not die!
The officer grabs Bernard and says,
Calm down. You're safe now.
His voice is reassuring, but the calm is broken. Suddenly, Bernard yells again.
Oh my God! It's right behind you!
Camera flips over. 2 gunshots fired, and then it ends. The end says that Bernard and the officer were never found in the room where the shots had been fired. All they found were the 2 bullets. It's terrifying even to think that the same thing that hunted Bernard is now hunting us. God, what should we do? It's 105 miles away from a town, and whatever is trying to kill us is driving us to insanity. Is this what it wants? For us to turn on each other one by one? Day 70. All night we heard the growling. Every second I heard it. It wasn't until the littlest sight of sunlight came out of it that the growling stopped. We were granted with a morning present that had made us all sick to our stomach. At the doorstep was Mike's body, destroyed and everything. It looked like he'd been ripped in half by a chainsaw. Mitch and I couldn't even look at the body. We took a blanket, covered him, and put him into one of the holes we'd previously dug. We promised we'd find the thing that did this to him and Bernard, and we will kill that creature and deliver this evil away from this world. We took all of our weapon-related items ready to hunt, but we were interrupted by another of Brandon's seizures. We thought of what Bernard had said. One of those things. God, was Brandon turning into something else that wasn't human? Well, I loaded my gun and pointed it at Brandon. I almost pulled the trigger, but was interrupted by Gordon.
Dude, what the hell are you doing?
He tackled me to the ground, yelling those words. I took a deep breath and replied slowly. What Brandon said about people turning. We should kill him before he turns. Now, Gordon had the most disgusting expression that I'd ever seen him make. He slapped me in the face and told me never to think that again. After 15 minutes, things calmed down with Brandon. We finished preparing our weapons. At 11 p.m., we grabbed our guns and were about to walk out the front door. But Brandon was gone. He'd run out the front door and left the house. and there was a trail of blood to follow. We instantly thought the worst had happened to him. We heard the sounds of movement somewhere out in the field, though whenever we shone our lights out on the movements, there was nothing there. The blood trail was coming to an end. And then we found Brandon. He was dead. We left his body, swearing we'd get a proper burial for him after we'd killed the creature. We gave up on our search finding the beast at night. We decided to try and find it during the daylight instead. We arrived back at the house and gathered our things for the night. We went to bed, and within a moment of laying down, we were all fast asleep. Day 18. At 3 a.m., the door randomly burst open, and what we saw instantly woke us. It was the creature. It had the head of a bear, followed by scars covering the right side of its face. I immediately grabbed one of the guns and shot at it, dodged my bullet, and ran back to the front door. It must have considered me a threat. Before it ran, Gordon swung a baseball bat and hit it in the ribs. But we saw it run off with blood coming from its mouth. We were both excited and happy that it could be hurt, because if it bleeds, it can be killed. No noises were made that night, nor did it show emotion, but you could tell by its movements that it was hurt. It ran, and we chased it outside, but before we could leave, we heard the shatter of glass breaking behind us. It was Brandon. We didn't know if he was alive at all. His eyes were completely bloodshot, and foam ran down from his mouth. A thought popped in my head, going back to the things Bernard had said, how it turned people into those creatures. Brandon was now one of those things. He ran at us, not like how an average person should. We heard his bones crack. It made me want to throw up, but I was able to hold it back. Gordon and I ran to the basement as fast as we could, and we boarded up the door. Brandon was still outside, smashing the door and trying to break it. We were frantically looking for something to help us in any way. We spotted an old ham radio. I set it up. With deep breaths, I said, "If anyone can hear this, this is Chase Lamb. We need help right now. We're in grave danger. If anyone can hear us, we're in Sarsha and need help right away." Just then, the smashing of the door stopped. We heard a howl come from outside. It must have been the creature calling its flock back to its home. After hours of waiting in the basement and listening for any sign of living things in the house, we came out. Exhausted and in pain, we needed sleep. We decided that someone would keep guard and we would switch every 3 hours. I hope this is a better day than the one we've had in the past. Day 20. It's now the afternoon. We've made a plan to escape Sarsha. We don't know how this didn't come across our minds before. At the dock, when we first found the skull, there was a boat. Well, it was in decay and looked like it hadn't been used in years. It was our only choice. It was hard abandoning everyone, but Gordon and I just had to. Well, Mitch was missing. Brandon had turned into one of those things. Mike was dead. Well, we gathered the gear, ready to make the fastest run of our lives to the boat. We checked the inside of the house in case Brandon was hiding, or the creature was waiting for us. We looked out the windows and found that everything was the same outside. Oh, the saying, looks can be deceiving, couldn't be further from the truth. It was quiet. No footprints were there, and nothing new was outside. We knew it was watching somewhere. It has to be. Remember, it's the 20th day, and nobody survives 20 days. So we got the bags and all the guns we could and opened the door, running out as fast as we could. Nothing was out of the ordinary, but this didn't even get us to the thought of slowing down. As if I just jinxed myself, the creature came from the cornfield, screaming and hissing as loud as it could. Looking at its fanged teeth and its wolf-like structure only made me run faster as it ran at us with extraordinary speed. Gordon must have noticed that he was almost near us, because I saw him pull the pistol and shoot off 3 rounds. One hit the creature, and we heard it gasp out in desperate pain. I yelled at Gordon to keep shooting, but when he did, the gun jammed. There was no time to fix it, so he threw it, and we just kept on running. Halfway to the boat. Oh, we're almost there. We can make it out of here. We were running. We suddenly saw it in front of us. It was Brandon, or what used to be Brandon. Blood was spilling from his mouth, and his eyes were completely red. He caught us off guard and tackled Gordon to the ground. I went to help, but Gordon just yelled, saying,
"Run and save yourself."
I had no choice but to listen to my friend and watch as both the creature and Brandon attacked him. I was finally at the dock, and to my surprise I found Mitch working on the boat at a frantic pace. "Mitch, what are you doing here? Where were you?" He cut me off.
I'll tell you everything later. We just need to escape this place.
We jumped on the boat and revved the engine to try and get it to work, but it wouldn't budge. The creature was now in eyesight, and along with it was Gordon and Brandon right behind it. The beast and the rest of them ran at us, and we were about 20 feet away from each other before the engine started. It started. We drove off slowly into the distance to see the creature and my 2 friends screaming and yelling at us. A tear came down my cheek as reality set in, that I'd lost almost everything I'd had in my life. I turned to my right to talk to Mitch, but he wasn't there. Instead of sitting in the passenger seat, he was staring back at the town. When I asked if he was all right and turned him around, I saw his eyes were bloodshot. He bit me right before I pushed him off the boat into the propellers, where they broke and sliced him to pieces. And so, I write this, not knowing how long before I turn. But if, for some reason, you get the mad idea that we did and are reading this, run. Run now and never look back. I feel the change is coming. Don't make the same mistake we made. Just turn back and save yourself.
Hey there. Thank you so much for taking the time to drop by and listen to this story today. It really means a lot to me. I put a lot of time and effort into making these videos, so it's nice to know that there's someone out there listening. Do me a little favor, would you? Click that like button, leave a comment, and if you really feel like it, why not subscribe too? Okay, happy tales everyone. See you soon.